last two chapters are chapter 14, simple formulas, and chapter 15, standard portion sizes. So I'm going to go ahead and share with y'all. So chapter 14, simple formulas. If you are looking in your book, this chapter begins on page 151, and it's really just dealing with the chart on page 152. These are basically just conversions from US to metric or vice versa. These are going to be useful when recipes call for amounts and they're not equivalent measuring containers. So most kitchens are going to use standard US measurements, but you may work in some kitchens that use metric. I've previously worked in a kitchen that used uh, recipes that everything was measured in grams. So it just really depends on the chef. But most of your bake shops are going to use metric just because it's more precise, uh, down to the gram in a lot of these recipes. So there's some basic simple formulas on page 152 to help you, like I said, convert US to metric and back, and vice versa. So if we're looking at um, our assignment, I'm just going to pull up the whiteboard now. If we're looking at our assignment for chapter 14, questions 1 through 5 are pretty self-explanatory. You look at what the question is asking and then compare it to your chart on page 152 and to determine if those statements are true or false. So I don't think I need to do any explanation on any of those because it's just basically, like I said, comparing the statement to what the chart says. So the math problems for chapter 14 begin on question number 6. And it asks how many liters are equivalent to 6 cups. So if you're looking at your chart, there is a conversion for liters to cups, and that is to multiply the number of liters by 4.22675. If you go about 3/4 of the way down your chart, you'll see that liters to cups. So right here, you're just taking your 6 cups, or I'm sorry, this is cups to liters. We're going cups to liters here. So cups to liters is multiplied by 0.23658. So you'll just take your quantity in cups, which is 6, and multiply by that 0.23658, and that will give you your answer for number 6. No issues with that one, right, y'all?
Mm,
No? Okay. All right, number 7 is convert 12 liters to cups. So that's the very next formula, liters to cups, under the one we just did. So if we're taking 12 liters to cups, the number to multiply by is 4.22675. So you'll multiply 12 by 4.22675, and that'll give you your answer for number 7. Number 8 is converting tablespoons per ounce to tablespoons per gram. So
The first one.
that that one's the very first formula. You're multiplying the number of tablespoons per ounce by 28.349.
Divide, right?
Or divide, sorry. That's correct. Divide by 28.349. So for number 8, you're going to take 3 divided by 28.349, and that'll give you the answer for that one. Number 9 is convert 8 cups per kilogram to cups per pound. So that one is towards the bottom also. In this one, we are dividing 8 by 2.2046. This one, when y'all originally did if y'all have already done your assignment, you may have noticed that the answer that you got wasn't in there. It may have been off by 1 digit. The last digit was a 1. I corrected that to be a 2. So, but it's still 8 divided by 2.2046. That'll give you your answer. And then the last one, number 10, is convert 2 pounds per pint to kilograms per pint. That's the very last one on the chart. So 2 multiplied by the conversion number, which is 0.45359, and that'll give you the answer for that one. So these are really pretty basic. You're either dividing by this factor that the formula is giving you, or you're multiplying by it. So find the conversion on the chart, multiply the given number by the number that the formula gives you. So pretty straightforward there. There's no secret to any of those. No issues on that assignment.
No.
Are there? That's probably the easiest assignment in the book.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, last chapter.
If you have gone to any of the children's hospitals and you've done volunteer work as you have, it's,
We have I have a question mark on number 3 on chapter 15.
Okay. Okay, yeah, we'll discuss that one. Okay, let me get into the assignment here. Okay. So chapter 15. Where did my... Y'all bear with me just a second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, there we go. I keep hearing somebody's TV. Until you there we go. Thank you. If you have a question though, you can unmute yourself. Okay, so chapter 15. I'm just gonna look at this PowerPoint real quick. Can y'all see my PowerPoint now?
No.
There it is. Okay, so Chapter 15 is standard portion sizes. This chapter covers standard portion sizes used in restaurants, institutional food service, and catering options. So, on page 153, it discusses some factors that can cause chefs and managers to use portions other than those shown below. So, there's some things that affect portion sizes. This can be age, this could be the demographic of your guest, um, whether it be athletes, males, females, um, also um, the affluent versus the less affluent. All these things go into the portion size that you may give your guests. So standard portion sizes are essential for costing and purchasing purposes. Caterers know how many guests they'll have, so they must know the exact amount of food to produce. It says kindergarten through 12 schools have exact student counts, so they must prepare just enough every day without wasting money on overproduction. Plate waste is the amount of food thrown away after a guest has finished dining, and consistent plate waste of a single item can indicate that the portion size may need to be reduced or the quality of the food needs checking. So it's one of two things. If you have a lot of plate waste, either your portion size are too small, is too large, or your food quality may not be that good. Hopefully, it's not the latter. Um, and know the target market. The customer base themselves can and will dictate portion sizes, and proper sizes can gain repeat business. So, um, there's standards for this, but again, there may be, you may have a request by a certain customer for a larger portion size or a different way of presenting the item altogether. So, this chapter gives you the average portion size, the portion size on the low range, meaning the small range portion, and then the average for a large portion. So it just takes some basic sizes for different items and gives you average portion sizes. Okay, so with that being said, let's go through this assignment. And I know that there's some um, questions on this that you have to go back to previous chapters to help you find the answer. Okay, so questions 1 and 2 are both true false. Those can be found by reading your text on page 153. It talks about age and gender determining portions and the affluent or your rich diners eating more or less compared to less affluent people. That is, like I said, in the text. If you read on page 153, you'll find the answers to those. So number 3, this is one that's not necessarily, it's not on the chart. It gives you a standard portion size on your chart for a portion of wine, which is 5 ounces. But the question asks if a standard bottle of wine will yield 8 servings of 5 ounce each. So in order to determine that, you're going to have to go back. It's on page 146 in your book. And this is measurement conversions for milliliters to US fluid ounces. It's about halfway down the page.
Okay, so
So,
that's what I did. That's why
yeah,
I have a question.
yeah. So we know that from our earlier chapter on costing beverages that the standard bottle of wine is 750 milliliters. right? I'm going to put that up here. Okay, that's information from earlier in this book. So if the standard bottle of wine is 750 milliliters, we have to do the conversion to figure out how many ounces um, are in a standard bottle of wine, which Corey's saying 25 fluid ounces, which is correct. But let's talk about how we got to that. The question is true, false, but it's stating that a standard bottle of wine will yield 8 servings of 5 ounces each. So total, that would be 40 ounces for one bottle. So let's just see what it actually is. So if we're converting milliliters to fluid ounces, we want to multiply by this factor. And it's on your chart on page 146. So we'll take the 750 milliliters and we'll multiply by 0.0042265. Okay. So 750. So if you do that, that's going to give you, that's correct, Corey, 3.169875. So that's cups. We know that there's 8 ounces in a cup, so we multiply that by 8. And that would give you 25.359. So that's how many ounces on average are in a standard bottle of wine, which is much less than 40 ounces, which is what question 3 is stating. So that one will be false. Did anybody else get anything different or misinterpret the math anyway on that one? You have to do a little bit of conversion and, like I said, go back and know that the standard bottle of wine is 750 milliliters. Okay. Okay, good deal. So question 4 states typically a portion of boneless, skinless breast of chicken will be a bit smaller than the weight of a skin-on breast. So that one, you're just using your chart on page 154, and you can compare breast, boneless, skinless to breast skin on, and look at the difference in weight there, and you can determine that a boneless, skinless is actually a bit smaller than a skin on breast. Number 5 is a 4-ounce serving of shoestring French fries is about average. Again, that's going to be determined just by looking at your chart on page 157. Go down to fry shoestring, look at the average measure. And you can answer that by looking at the average measure. Number 6 says, using the high range portion value on your chart, how many shrimp will be served to 40 guests? So if we're looking at the chart on page 154, and we go down to shrimp all the way at the very bottom, it says the average measure or the high range measure rather, is 7 each shrimp. So we're going to do 7 multiplied by 40, and that will give you your value for the high range portion. Pretty straightforward multiplication on that one. Number 7, if you are serving an average measure of scalloped potatoes to 64 guests, how many pounds will you need to have on hand? So we're going to look at scalloped potatoes on our chart, which is on page 155. If you go about 3/4 of the way down, you see potatoes, and under potatoes, you'll see scalloped. So it says average measure of scalloped potatoes is 6 ounces. So we're going to take the 6 ounces, multiply it by the number of guests, 64 guests, and then whatever you get when you multiply 6 by 64, then you're going to divide it by 16, which is the number of ounces per pound, and that will give you your answer for number 7. So, real quick, I'll write this one out. So, as we said, the average measure for scalloped potatoes is 6 ounces. We're going to multiply that number of guests, 64. And then that will give you the total ounces for average measure. And then you're going to take that and you're going to divide that by 16, which is ounces per pound. And that will give you the answer for number 7. Okay. Number 8. Assume you will trim your own beef strip loins to make 10-ounce trimmed New York steaks and that you are serving 40 guests. How many pounds of AP strip loins will you need to start with? So this is another one that you will have to go back to chapter 9 because we need to know the yield percentage in order to determine this answer. So if you go all the way back to chapter 9, you're going to find the chart. It's on page 112 in your book. And if you go down to the 5th item, it has beef strip loin. You go over, you look at your yield percent is 70%. Okay? So it says we want to trim 40 guests a 10-ounce New York strip each. So take the portion size, 10 ounces. We're going to multiply by 40 guests. That's going to give us 400 ounces. That's what we need to serve to the guests. So you can take that 400 ounces and divide by your yield percentage. So it would be 400 divided by 70% yield, so it'll be 0.70. So that gives you 400 divided by 0.70. It gives you 571.428.571. And then you're going to divide that by the number of ounces per pound. So you take the 571.428571 and you divide that by ounces per pound, which is 16. And that should give you your answer. So all we're doing right here, what we're doing is we're determining the total amount of ounces we need to serve, which is 400, and we have to determine what the new weight is based on our yield percentage. Because if we're trimming our own steaks, we're going to have loss from that whole loin. So that new weight is 571.428571 ounces. Then we're just converting ounces to pounds right here. That's all we're doing. So that should give you your answer for number 8. Everybody got that one? It's basically the same thing we did in chapter 9. I don't know why that question popped up on this particular test, because I mean it is a conversion problem, so that's probably why. Okay, number 9 says if you were serving 3 strips of bacon to 45 guests and you buy your bacon at 20 slices per pound, how many pounds of bacon should you cook off at a minimum? So 3 strips per person, and there's 45 people, so we want to multiply 3 by 45. And that determines how many slices of bacon we need to cook off. So 135 pieces. And then we are just going to divide that by this amount of slices per pound. So 135 divided by 20. And that should give you your answer for that one. That's at minimum. Okay. Number 10. You are serving 80 guests a pasta that you buy in dry form, and you are going to portion 8 ounces of cooked pasta per guest. How many pounds of dry pasta should you cook off? Use the dry pasta cooking yield factor of 2.5 to calculate the conversion from cooked to uncooked. Okay? So we're going to do 80 times 8. That's 80 guests times 8 ounces. That give me 640 ounces. Now I need to do my conversion. So you can do this a couple of different ways. You can go ahead and convert ounces to pounds right here. So you can do 640 divided by 16, and that will give you 40 pounds. So you can do it this way. Let me just show this way. You can do 640, which is your total amount of ounces, and convert it to pounds divided by 16. That'll give you 40 pounds. And then take the 40 pounds and divide by your 2.5, which is your conversion factor. So you take that a step further and go 40 divided by 2.5, and that would give you your answer. Remember, 2.5 is the conversion factor from going cooked pasta to dry pasta. And then there's another way you could do this. You could take the 640 ounces and go back and do 640 ounces, and you can do the ounces divided by your conversion factor of 2.5. That would give you, let's see, 640 divided by 2.5, give you 256. And then you could take the 256 and convert it back to pounds by dividing by 16 ounces. And that would also give you the answer. So there's a couple of different ways you can do it. You can use the conversion factor right here, or you can use the conversion factor after you convert it to pounds. It works the same both ways on that one. Okay. Any questions there? Everybody good? No? Somebody have a question? Okay. All right. So that's wraps it up. Those last two chapters are really just converting, like we stated, but kind of revisit some of that math that we have been doing all semester. Yes, the final will be opened on Monday of next week. And that's the last thing you need to submit. If you haven't submitted all your assignments, now's the time to start turning them in. Yeah, the final will be all chapters of the Book of Yields. How many questions? That's a good question. Let's see. The final exam is 72 questions. And it is a mixture. I will go ahead and tell you the final is a mixture of true false questions. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of true false. There's like 35 true false, and the remainder are multiple choice. So, yes, this is a combination of all the chapters in the book. So make sure you review for that. And no problem doing these lectures. If you have any further questions, please email me, call me, whatever you need to do. Stop by my office, even if you aren't on one of the distance campuses, and I can help you go through any problems that you may have. But like I said, now is the time. All the assignments are open for this book. So if you haven't submitted anything, Now is the time to do it. You've got a little more than 2 weeks. Semester is going to end on the 16th. So, got until the 16th to submit everything. All right. That's all I've got for y'all this morning. And like I said, I'm here if you need to ask any questions. If you've already submitted, if there's any that you got wrong that were marked incorrectly wrong, I will go back in and correct those. But if you've already submitted, that's going to be, we're going to use that grade. If there's something you have that you're concerned about, though, email me directly, and maybe I can let you retake it if there was something you had a misunderstanding about in the past. So email me if you got any questions on any of these assignments. That's all I've got for y'all today. Enjoyed having you this semester, and hope everybody does well, and thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. Y'all have a good Christmas and rest of your holidays.
He's trying to learn. He's trying to be a worse person. Right.
Did you have a question, Jacqueline? Okay. Have a good Christmas, everybody.